A long episode today. Hi, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Lots to get to. Let's start with late night real quick. Did you see President Biden deliver that primetime speech the other night? The president said for the midterms, it could take several days for all the votes to be counted in some swing states. Jimmy Fallon said, unfortunately, after these past 2 years, every state's a swing state. I shared this on the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Facebook group. Really excited. There's a trailer for Bert Kreischer's movie, The Machine. I'm so psyched for this film, and I loved the trailer. Mark Hamill plays Bert Kreischer's father in the film as they return to Russia. I don't want to spoil it for you. There is a very funny scene. How can I not spoil it? It involves Bert Kreischer's pocket. When you see it, you'll be like, oh, that was really funny. The Hollywood Reporter has put out an article. It is entitled, The 50 Most Influential People in Comedy in 2022. I have not read this. I have not looked at it. I wanted to react cold to it in the moment with you. The Hollywood Reporter's 50 Most Influential People in Comedy in 2022. The sub-headline, our annual rundown of the top creatives and decision makers in funny business, including perennial comedy legends, stadium-filling stand-ups, and yes, the makers of The Bear. Scrolling down is an image of some famous people. They are Conan O'Brien, Amy Schumer, Bowen Yang, Dave Chappelle, Gabriel Iglesias, Will Ferrell, and Maya Rudolph is the other person in there. The Hollywood Reporter writes, again, I'm doing this cold, the numbers are in. The state of comedy is strong. Among prevailing trends is the public's eagerness to get back out of the house, leading to a new golden age of stand-up in which touring titans like Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, and Sebastian Maniscalco are selling out arenas, sometimes twice over, as Gabe Iglesias did when he became the first comic to play Dodger Stadium. Then a paragraph about how comedy movies are underperforming. The third paragraph is about podcasts, mentioning Smartless and Conan O'Brien. On to the list. First up, Lucia Anello, Paul W. Downs, and Jen Statsky. We are not off to a list of famous people here. Who are they? Apparently, they make the TV show Hacks. All right, nice enough show. I'm guessing we're in alphabetical order here because Lucia Anello's name starts with an A, and next up is Judd Apatow. Third up, Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and Sean Hayes for, I guess, Smartless. I've been commenting on that recently, and I'll comment about the episode with President Biden on tomorrow's podcast. Acquired by Amazon/Wondery for reported $80 million. So no matter how much I say, yeah, it's not that good, they made $80 million. Shut up, Johnny Mac, while you talk to yourself in your basement, you loser. Kate Berlant and John Early. Wow. The Hollywood Reporter writes, when it comes to comedy, what is initially considered fringe eventually comes to define the mainstream, and that's where Berlant and Early now find themselves, admired, imitated, and in hot demand. Yeah? So if you're listening to me, you're probably above average interested in comedy. If I walk down the street and I go, hey, random stranger, Kate Berlant and John Early, and they don't punch me in the face, you think anyone will know who that is? I don't think so, but I'm not the Hollywood Reporter. Mike Birbiglia, I've seen a lot of press about his new Broadway show, The Old Man and the Pool. He got a separate profile in the Hollywood Reporter. I'll pick at that in the next few days. Quinta Brunson, I will come back to her and you will see why. Bo Burnham. They really liked his outtakes version of Inside that aired this summer on YouTube. I forgot that happened. I'm probably just too old for Bo Burnham. Geez, this next headline. Touring powerhouses Bill Burr, Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias, Joe Coy, Bert Kreischer, Sebastian Maniscalco, Hassan Minhaj, John Mulaney, Tom Segura. So we're just going to check off 8 names here. They tour a lot. They tour big places. Okay. Next up, Nicole Byer. Netflix special, also a writer, producer, podcaster, and Emmy-nominated host for Nailed It, and fronts the NBC comedy Ground Crew and TBS's Wipeout. That's a nice resume there. Jared Carmichael, he had a buzzy summer for Rathaniel. Dave Chappelle, who's that? I probably don't need to tell you why Dave Chappelle's on this list if you are listening to this podcast. Next up, another group. Network late night guys, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, Seth Meyers. We left at least one notable person off the list. That's interesting to me. The Hollywood Reporter says Samantha Bee is gone, Trevor Noah, who's the interesting name to me, and James Corden will be soon. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert remains an essential stop for major promo tours and political campaigns. And the Jimmys are still able to commandeer attention with epic bits like their April Fool's switcheroo, in which they hosted each other's shows. And they said something nice about Late Night with Seth Meyers. Next up, Billy Eichner. With Bros, Eichner achieved a historic first, a gay rom-com by a major studio starring an all-LGBTQ cast. The Hollywood Reporter reminds us the movie opened to a dismal $4.8 million, prompting Eichner to lash out on Twitter. Everyone who isn't a homophobic weirdo should go see Bros tonight. You will have a blast. I don't consider myself homophobic, and I didn't even go see Fast and the Furious in the theaters. I don't go to theaters anymore, man. I didn't go see Top Gun. I waited till Top Gun came to me. Stream Bros. I'll watch. Next up, the pair of Will Ferrell and Jessica Elbaum. Gloria Sanchez, that's a company, remains the top destination for female-fronted comedy run by founder Jessica Elbaum, is now backing all Will Ferrell-fronted projects, including Apple's Spirited, the Christmas Carol musical co-starring Ryan Reynolds that drops November 11th. Oh, let me add that to my calendar now. I got to pay attention. I didn't realize that was coming up that soon. So I've got this editorial calendar here. I'm scrolling up to November 11th and leaving myself a note. Next up, Nathan Fielder. Yeah, we're all the way up to the Fs. The Hollywood Reporter really likes The Rehearsal, a Charlie Kaufman-esque reality show involving elaborate recreations of real-world scenarios. I really like Nathan for You. I'm not sure I've seen the buzz on The Rehearsal. Maybe The Hollywood Reporter has access to some stats from HBO Max that I don't have, but I haven't noticed people talking about The Rehearsal. Donald Glover, Atlanta, a reboot of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and hopefully the Community movie. Bill Hader, yes, Barry, was amazing. Sterling Harjo, he's the co-creator of Reservation Dogs. I watched the first season of that, enjoyed it. Haven't seen the second season yet, heard good things. Kevin Hart, yep, of course, he's got to be on the list. If you listen to the show, I mentioned Kevin Hart probably 5 times a week. Mindy Kaling, definitely a power player. She's getting credit in this particular year's list for The Sex Lives of College Girls, Season 2, HBO November 17th. Joel Kim Booster and Bowen Yang. Bowen's like the MVP of SNL right now. Joel Kim Booster, somebody I've been following since I saw him at New Faces in Montreal. Of course, they had the Hulu film Fire Island this summer. Nick Kroll on the list. So why Nick Kroll this year? His first stand-up special in 11 years. I need to watch that, maybe this weekend. Appearing in Olivia Wilde's film Don't Worry, Darling, and of course, Big Mouth. Next up, Phil Lord and Chris Miller. You know them from the 21 Jump Street movie and the Lego movies. They're currently working on Universal's Cocaine Bear, based on the true story of a black bear that ingested a duffel bag full of white powder after a botched drug deal. Nice. Also, 48 Hours in Vegas, depicting the wild weekend during which Dennis Rodman tore through Vegas in the middle of the '98 NBA Finals. Those both sound fun. Bill Maher, currently in its 20th season on HBO, Real Time with Bill Maher, still draws some of the most influential and high-profile guests. The guests that the Hollywood Reporter picked out: Benjamin Netanyahu, okay, Amy Klobuchar, yep, and Bob Odenkirk. His podcast is pretty good, too. Steve Martin and Martin Short, okay, we know who they are. Lorne Michaels, yes, we know who that is. Trevor Noah, okay, he got his own breakout here. Nothing new in the paragraph other than, Noah's leaving the Daily Show and presumably going on to bigger and better things. Conan O'Brien, he sold his production company to the satellite radio people for $150 million. Still waiting on that HBO Max show. John Oliver. I like how the alphabetical order is just putting all like the people that I'm extra into all together here. This mentions Oliver's HBO deal takes him through 2023, marking 10 years on the air. Do you think John Oliver will stick with that? I would guess so, but that's interesting. Ooh, next up, the Please Don't Destroy guys. You know those guys? They do the pre-recorded sketches on Saturday Night Live. I've found all their stuff to be really on point. Ben Marshall, John Higgins, and Martin Harley are their names. Issa Rae, Insecure, has wrapped up its final episode, but she's got a 5-year, 8-figure deal with Warner Media. Chris Rock, was he in the news this year? You don't hear much about Chris Rock. Next up, Maya Rudolph and Natasha Lyonne. As for Natasha, Russian Doll had a second season. I remembered last weekend that even happened. I really enjoyed Russian Doll season 1. I think it's that whole Netflix thing of like they put stuff out and then it's gone and they don't put it back in front of you. Like I just forgot it existed. I'm predisposed to like it, but I forget that it's out there. Maya Rudolph makes the list for Apple TV's Loot. That's a show about a billionaire divorcee on Apple. Next up, Phoebe Robinson. We're up to the R's here. This year saw the debut of Robinson's comedy series Everything's Trash, based on her essay collection Everything's Trash, But It's Okay. That airs on Freeform, which is why you haven't seen it. Joe Rogan. He's got a podcast. I don't know if you knew that. Also, in early 23, Joe Rogan plans to open his comedy club in Austin. That should be very interesting. Amy Schumer. She hosted the Oscars. She also had Life and Beth. And Inside Amy Schumer returned. Good year for Amy Schumer, agreed. Christopher Storer and Joanna Callow. Who were they? Storer was executive producer of Hulu's Rami. I got to watch the new season of Rami as well. There's so much to watch. Callow had written on HBO Max's Hacks and Netflix's BoJack Horseman. Nice resume there. Jason Sudeikis, you know him, Ted Lasso. I think this summer we started to see some Jason Sudeikis backlash. This last season of Ted Lasso, if it's not like super awesome, people are going to turn on it. I see that coming. Robin Thede, one indication of the appeal of a Black Lady sketch show is the ease at which it draws a wide range of celebrity cameos. That the HBO sketch series consistently goes toe-to-toe against SNL every year at the Emmys, despite just 6 episodes and 4 main cast members each season, is a testament to its attention to craft. Taika Waititi getting some credit for Thor Love and Thunder. I guess that's a comedy. What We Do in the Shadows, that alone you win. Also, he found time to play Blackbeard in HBO Max's Our Flag Means Death, another show I was watching and forgot existed and I need to get back to. Mike White, creator of The White Lotus. New season's airing right now. Have you watched it yet? Haven't had a chance. Johnny Mac, do you watch anything? Yes, I watch a lot of football. I've been watching these specials. I'm trying to catch up, but boy, we're getting so much TV these days. Rami Youssef, as I mentioned, I love the television show Rami. I need to watch the new season. If you haven't seen Rami, treat yourself. It's really good. Another show that's good is Netflix's Mo. So Mo Amer is a co-star on Rami, and Rami Youssef helped create Mo Amer's show Mo. So those are kind of, cousin shows, but you should watch them both. And last up on the list, The Gatekeepers, a bunch of suits who you won't know, agent types. They can enjoy their own picture in the Hollywood Reporter. All right, still a lot to get to, and this is a really long episode. So let's take break number 1. I'll come back. The other big topic today that couldn't wait for Monday on the Roku channel today, Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. I cannot wait to watch this thing tonight. I'm sure my wife will interrupt it 3 times during the good parts. Weird Al was on Found the other night and was asked about the rumor that Al had a relationship with Madonna. Did Weird Al and Madonna have a thing? In real life, Al says the only time I actually met her was in 1985. I talked to her for maybe like 45 seconds backstage, so that's the extent of that relationship. Some reviews and some spoilers coming up here. Cinema Blend gave it 4 stars out of 5, saying Weird Al fans finally have a worthy successor to UHF. Whether it was intended or not, Weird, the Al Yankovic Story, is the next midnight movie craze waiting to happen at a repertory theater near you. I was talking to the kids last week about Rocky Horror, and I was like, does the younger generation even know what that is, that you would go to a theater on midnight and throw stuff at the screen? Do you kids know what that was? So hopefully Weird Al becomes a midnight movie. That'd be a lot of fun. An audience crowd pleaser that ups the ante and never slows down. It really does exemplify the best of everything that Weird Al stands for. Alan Eng of Film Threat gives it 8.5 out of 10. That's a weird number. Calling it the funniest film he's seen this year by far. Tessa Smith of Mama's Geeky rates the movie 3.5 out of 5, saying the best part of the movie is seeing Daniel Radcliffe having the time of his life, even if the humor does start to get repetitive towards the end. If you're looking for a film that will make you laugh your butt off while simultaneously having you second guess everything you think you know about Weird Al, you've come to the right place. Leah Greenblatt of EW gave the movie a B, and I think is taking this way too seriously, writing that the movie treats time as a flat circle, folding Amish Paradise into the events of 1985. I mean, Coolio's original was actually released a full decade later, and putting Madonna's backup dancers in anachronistic cone bras years before they debuted in the real world. Wow, I can't believe the Weird Al movie is playing fast and loose with facts. That's weird. No pun. Rolling Stone talked to Weird Al, who said it was hard to find someone to bankroll the movie. It was very much like in the early 80s when I was getting my record deal. We shipped it everywhere. Everybody was like, oh, this is brilliant. This is funny. This is great. It's not for us. It's not like it's a super low-budget indie movie, and it's not a Marvel movie with a gazillion-dollar budget. It falls in the middle. Something I think a lot of people are going to enjoy, but it's just a hard pitch. It was a hard movie to sell. Some of the cameos appear. Here come the spoilers. I'll give you 3 seconds. I'll babble for 2, 1. Spoiler time. There's a pool party scene that spoofs Boogie Nights at the pool party. Conan O'Brien, Jack Black, Dimitri Martin, Paul F. Tompkins, Emo Phillips. They are playing some cultural icons. I don't want to double spoil it for you despite my warning. I'm reading this here and I'm like, let you guys experience that for yourself. More spoilers coming up from a review from the AV Club. Some of the plot points. Michael Jackson stole Eat It from Weird Al and reinvented it as Beat It. Weird Al dated Madonna, and they wound up on a wacky adventure that involved Pablo Escobar. The AV Club's review is mixed. They say fans of Weird Al are sure to be pleased by Radcliffe's committed lead performance, which captures the performer's nerdy exuberance without stooping to mere imitation. They'll also be thrilled with an original song that Yankovic wrote for the closing credits. It's called Now You Know, and it mischievously comments on the credits as they unfurl. The AV Club says that song is actually a better distillation of Weird Al's mile-a-minute comic brilliance than the film itself, which for all its laughs, demonstrates the difficulty of sustaining a comic rhythm for more than a 3 to 5 minute length of a song. Pete Davidson news. Pete Davidson and Colin Jost ferry may be full of asbestos and roaches. Is it asbestos or asbestos? I've said it both ways now, and now I'm confused. Asbestos? Hit me in the comments. This is from Curbed, and apparently the decommissioned Staten Island ferry that the comedians bought earlier this year for $280,000 is possibly filled with roaches and asbestos. This according to the ship's former captain, who told the Daily News the ferry was first in service in 1965 when asbestos was a common building material. Another ferry worker claimed there's a big cockroach problem on the boat. Paul Italia, one of the other boat co-owners, denied the roach and asbestos claims. He told the Daily News, it's garbage information. The former captain chimed in again and said, I wish this guy's luck. Two guys with a lot of money who don't know anything about maritime vessels. Jordan Klepper fingers the midterms. That's a special that is out. He spoke to Rolling Stone. This is a long episode, isn't it? I told you it was. With the midterms coming up. I think these are the most consequential midterms I've ever lived through. Suddenly, you saw that 60% of Americans are going to have election deniers on the ballot. And we're not only electing electors, we're having an election about elections. So this is an opportunity for us to be like, great, let's cover this movement. We'll do what I do, which is get on the street, talk to the people, see how they feel about things, where they think the country is going. But it's also an opportunity to dig in stuff I don't normally get to do. I spent some time with the Oath Keepers down in Arizona who are outside ballot boxes with guns on their hip, watching people, looking for fraud. I'm really worried about what's happening in these midterms. And I think the title is America Unfollows Democracy, because I think we're at a very precarious point right now. This special is our attempt to see where their dangers lie. He also has a new podcast, Jordan Klepper Fingers the Conspiracy. The podcast, in of itself, is a chance for me to take a deeper dive into the wilder conspiracies and ideas that I've seen on the road over the last many years. Things move really fast when you go to a MAGA rally and you get things like Democrats are drinking baby blood and JFK Jr. is the vice president of the United States. You know, fun things like that. As I talk to people, I get a chance to respond in real time, trying to figure out what their point of view is. This podcast is a chance to be like, let's slow it down. There's wild thoughts happening at the rallies that I'm at. Let's take some of these theories, some of the conspiracies. Let me see where they began. Let me see where they live online. What's so sticky about them? Let me talk to experts who've been studying this. Let me talk to people who've been affected by these things so we can kind of open up that a little bit. I can't even really comprehend why JFK Jr., not even JFK, is part of the conversation. So this podcast is a chance to open that up and try to get a little bit more understanding. That podcast is called Jordan Klepper Fingers the Conspiracy. Still a lot of news, so a rare second break. So I have here in my notes, comments on the editorial calendar. Yeah, as I was putting the show together, obviously there's so much today. And I have like the next few weeks, including through the end of the month. There's Thanksgiving coming, and I like to record that whole weekend in advance. I've got a lot kind of filled in already, which is great. Next week is the New York Comedy Festival. Once you get to Thanksgiving week, it kind of slows down, but that's why I have things like my Best of 2022 list, and there's plenty to talk about. I've been sitting on a Sam Kinison episode that is designed as weekend filler, haven't needed it. So there's plenty to talk about, and I'm glad it's busy, but it will slow down once we get to Thanksgiving or so. But in the meantime, there's plenty. I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I'm trying to catch up on these specials. I did watch Fortune Feimster's special. I was really digging her opener, and I thought this special was going to rate very high. I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, this is like really good. And then, spoilers, she tells a long engagement story that didn't really pay off. And I was like, all right, that didn't work. Let me keep going. And then she started a sequel story to the engagement story, and I bailed. It's a nice enough special. We'll see how it does at the end of the year. Chris Redd has a special on HBO Max that came out yesterday. Another special coming out next week on November 12th, Lil Rel Howery. It's called I Said It, Y'all Thinking It. So next weekend on HBO Max. Howery brings his signature storytelling style and spot-on impressions to the Chicago theater. Topics, fame, fatherhood, therapy. The ITV has bought the rights to air a new documentary about Bill Cosby. It's called The Case Against Cosby, based on Andrea Constand's memoir, The Moment, Standing Up to Cosby, Speaking Up for Women. The new documentary, originally made for Canada's CBC, also speaks to other women who have made sexual assault accusations against Bill Cosby. No air date for that yet. And let's wrap with this one from the Hindustan Times. Say it with me. You're home for comedy news. Mumbai police recently introduced a new seatbelt rule, which mandates all passengers in a car put the strap on. This went into effect November 1st. Okay, good rule. We like safety. The police are trying to get awareness out there. They've been on social media, and then they noticed the account of stand-up comedian Atul Khatri. He tweeted a photograph that captures a man wearing a yellow-colored t-shirt with a seatbelt printed on it. Khatri wrote, Mumbai cars, please wear seatbelts from today or buy this t-shirt. The Mumbai police were having none of that. They tweeted, we shall keep them in stock for you along with our challenge. And I had to look up that word. That is a common Hindi word That can mean piece of paperwork, police citation, etc. So let me see if I can translate the joke back into US. The Mumbai police tweeted, "We shall keep them in stock for you, along with our police citations. Your safety is never a joke. P.S. If this ever will be the basis for a stand-up routine, ensure the message of safety is sent out as well." Mumbai police added, hashtag, wear your seatbelts. And that's your comedy news for today. Normal episodes all weekend. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, audio version on YouTube. And don't forget on Tuesday, what are you going to do? You're going to vote.